Welcome to Rising Stars, where Miriam Knight, publisher of New Consciousness Review, interviews exciting new voices in the world of progressive and transformational books, films, and ideas, who offer intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us as we celebrate the conscious awakening and explore many expressions of consciousness in action.
Dagher. Emmanuel is a highly sought-after transformation specialist, holistic health practitioner, inspirational social media personality, and speaker. He is the author of the Amazon bestseller Easy Breezy Miracles, considered by many next-generation New Thought as a New Thought leader. Emmanuel is a gifted humanitarian, devoted to assisting people and the planet in positive transformation. He is in service to the well-being of humankind. And I'm very pleased to have him with us today to discuss his brand new book, Easy Breezy Prosperity, the 5 Foundations for a More Joyful, Abundant Life. And I can tell you, after reading it, I am so impressed, and I think you will really enjoy getting the book and listening to our interview today. Welcome, Emmanuel. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me today. I'm so grateful to be here.
Oh, I'm so grateful to actually be able to speak to you, having had some technical glitches at the beginning. Anyway, Emmanuel, you look like you're about 15 in the picture.
Aw, going on 30. Yes.
How did you get to carve out this space of self-help and motivation?
You know, I think everyone that's listening right now, we've all been through challenges. We've all been through hardship. And, you know, for me, when I first sort of came into this world, I happened to, I think on a soul level, I think we do choose our reality. And I chose to come in Lebanon. I actually grew up in Lebanon in the civil war of the 80s and 90s. And so we had little food. I lived in a convent. We had no electricity, no running water. I mean, really the below poverty level. So there was that drive early on from the beginning that if I was able, or when I should say, I was able to get out of that situation. And of course, my thing was I was very close to my mom, and I said, I can remember asking the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, you know, if my mom was safe, if she was kept safe and sound, then I will spend the rest of my life doing what I can to give back and be a positive change in the world. So I've never really veered away from that. I've always stayed very dedicated to that. And it really gave me the motivation to want to help people because I can really understand what they're going through. And I've been there. So that's sort of the reasoning for me.
Understanding or empathizing with the suffering of others is something that not everyone who has been through what you've been through manages to achieve. How did you avoid the trap of hatred and a desire for revenge?
You know, I, like everyone, have emotions. So I just found that it didn't serve me. It didn't feel good. I remember seeing what it did around me and seeing the chaos and the struggle that it caused. And I wanted another way. You know, I can remember being very young and I was in my mom's arms. And the picture that I can give you is that I've never really felt like I had a childhood. I felt very much like I just came into becoming an adult. And the vision that I have is when I was 3 years old, my mom was in my arms and the president of Lebanon was just assassinated. And I had her in my arms. She was bawling hysterically. And I was like, there, all's going to be fine. I love you. We're going to get through this. And that's sort of been the theme of my life with her. She's sort of been like my child and I've been the adult. And I think that really gave me the tools and skills to not make it about me. It's not about me. It's about others and how I can support and help others. And that's sort of always been my motivation.
That's amazing. And I wonder if that impulse that you have is very rare, or is it something that I'm assuming from your book that you feel that this can be cultivated in others?
Yes. Absolutely. One of the things that I talk about in my book, and it's very interesting, I did a little experiment with it on social media for the past few years, is generosity and the spirit of service. A lot of people have been conditioned to be very self-involved, and that's not there's nothing wrong with that. And the other aspect is it's not their fault. It's sort of how media or the mainstream has sort of kind of created this idea that it's all about consumerism and it's about me, 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 and how can money serve me? How can this person give me what I want? So what happens is when we get into that state, we forget how magical really life is. We're always looking to the next thing. We're not fully living in the present moment. We're not open and receptive. So generosity and service are the two most important energies that I feel have transformed my life. Generosity in that not just giving money and things like that, but giving of your time, giving of your energy and your support. So going back to the experiment, I was on Facebook about a few years ago, and I remember many of my posts do really well. They get wonderful shares and activity, but there was one post that kept. It was like crickets. Nobody was active. Nobody was even wanting to have anything to do with it. And that post was generosity. I would talk about how when we are choosing to be generous with others, we open ourselves up to greater prosperity, greater wealth, greater blessings, miracles, etc. And it just seemed nobody was caring. So I knew, as a Taurus, I can be a stubborn Taurus sometimes. I said, you know what? I'm going to make it my mission to let these people know how powerful how powerful generosity is. So I did an experiment, and I was once a week sending different versions of what generosity does. I would do little giveaways. I was taking sort of documentation of me doing generous acts so that people would start to either get on board or be inspired to do the same. And I'm so grateful to say that now, 3 years later, some of the most shared and most active posts on social media for me on my page is generosity and being of service. So I really feel like there was something that shifted there. And I do feel like people, Oprah and Ellen and Richard Branson and yourself and all these amazing people who are giving back and creating change on the planet and showing the value of being generous and how powerful it can be not only for us, but for them, the person receiving it, really is heartening to see.
I want to get back to the notion of generosity, but right now, tell us your understanding of money.
Okay, so this was a big one for me because I saw my mom struggling. I saw everything earlier on where people just were putting these ideas that money is this, the root of all evil. It causes problems. I can't have enough of it, or only greedy people want it. So it was very disconnected from who I wanted to be, which was a very spiritual being. For me, my mom says I must have been a monk in another lifetime because I always have this, like my number one priority. Anytime anyone asks me, what is it that you desire? I say, I just want to help people. I want people to be empowered to live their greatest life. That's my number one. So when I was sort of in that space in my teens and early 20s, I felt at sort of like a conflict. I wanted to be able to take care of myself financially, but I just wasn't able to the way that I wanted to when I had the mindset that I had up to that point around money. So I remember having this conversation with the universe, as I often do internally, and I asked the universe, show me, there has to be another way. Show me if there's a gap that can be bridged between spirituality and the material world. Show me if there is something I need to know. So I sort of just set that intention, and I meditate often anyway. So meditations come and go the next few days, nothing. Then about a week later, I started receiving this insight and remembering when I first moved to the United States, I was, joining many clubs and things like that. And one of them was the science club, and I did a science fair project. And I kept getting this image of the science fair project that I did where I had two plants, which is interesting. They're actually money plants. Now, looking back at it, I didn't even realize that. Very synchronistic. And I took two plants, and one of them, I had listened to classical music for 6 weeks and, be next to the window receiving sunlight and water. And then the other plant was to listen to heavy metal. And so I wanted to see, the hypothesis was music affects plants. That was sort of like the very simple core level of that. But what I sort of going back and thinking about it, after the 6 weeks, the plant that listened to classical music thrived. It flourished. The leaves were just growing so quickly. And the other plant was shriveling up and withering away. So it did kind of prove the point back then that, yes, music and sound and frequency does affect energy, and in this case, the plant. So going back, I thought about it. I said, okay, why am I visualizing this? Why does this keep coming up to me? And the next sort of, how we start going into the aha and going into the rabbit hole of consciousness. And I got the wisdom, the inner guidance that said, if this plant that doesn't necessarily talk and it doesn't have this personality per se was able to tell you that it doesn't like this music and it wants this music, then what if everything on the planet is living and breathing? What if money is alive? What if it's awake? And what if the way that you've been treating it needs to change?
Be nice to your money. Well, we're going to pick up that thought when we come back. We have to take a station break now. We will be right back with Emmanuel Dagher speaking about easy, breezy prosperity.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
On your website, lots of giveaways. Tell us what your website is.
Yes. So it's easy. Breezy.prosperity.com is the direct link to the website of the giveaways and the book. And then my personal website is EmmanuelDagher.com. EMmanuelDagher.
The H is silent.
Yes. Yes.
And only one G.
Yes.
Very good. So we were talking about the energy of money before the break, but money is only one aspect of prosperity. And this book is all about having a prosperous life, feeling prosperous, generating prosperity. What are the most important elements, do you think?
Okay, so because a lot of people do think of money and finances when they think of prosperity right away, I do want to finish a little bit of the thought around money, and then we'll get into that specific one, another aspect of prosperity. So money itself, when I really had that before the commercial, that idea that money is a living, breathing thing, immediately my perception, my thought, my idea, the way that I was treating it shifted. It went from how can it serve me and how can I get more of it, or either I was pushing it away and creating these ideas that it was wrong to have it, all these things, to now, oh my gosh, how can I serve you? How can I support you? How can I be here for you? And not in an egoic way, but a very loving and compassionate way, the way that I would want to treat my best friend or the way that I would treat a partner. That's the way that that's the shift that happened for me. And I tried that for 28 days, which I often talk about in my book. It takes 21 days to break a cycle, 28 days to begin a new one. And for 28 days, I started to shift my perception around money. I placed any bills that I had to pay over my heart. I placed them and I said, thank you for giving me the opportunity to give back and share. And I'm so grateful for what I've received. I release you now and, return to me in miraculous ways. So just really opening myself up in that way. And in 28 days, I remember I had just begun this sort of mind-body consciousness path, and I got invited to be on a summit, and that changed everything for me. I started creating greater prosperity and wealth, and I truly do credit that shift in the way that I was seeing money itself. Now, the other aspect of prosperity for me is knowing our purpose. And a lot of people that I ask, I say, do you know what your purpose is? And some of them, they'll say, my purpose is to be a mom, a dad, a friend, a teacher, an artist. So I say, okay, great. Those are amazing and they're wonderful. But at the core, what do those things provide for you? What do they give you? And so they'll say, well, it makes me happy. Okay, so your purpose is far greater than just a title. Your purpose is to be happy. And when you simplify, okay, my purpose is to be happy, and everything is now gauged off of that. Is this bringing me joy or is this not? Then you'll know if it is, you're on purpose. And that is the most prosperous kind of life.
I love one of your practices where you talk about your morning gratitudes. And then you make a list of these things that you're grateful for. Mm-hmm. But the one that really tickled me was the idea of doing a gratitude dance. It reminded me of the Peanuts Snoopy character doing a happy dance.
Yes. And one thing around gratitude, I know we've heard it often in consciousness and new thought, but the thing that I would invite the listeners to do is to take it a step further. So express your gratitude. However, then affirm why you're grateful. So for example, I am so grateful. So when you wake up in the morning, I am so grateful for my bed because it kept me warm, it kept me safe, it kept me comfortable. I'm grateful for this new day of infinite possibilities because I don't know what may be coming, but I know that something miraculous is on the horizon, and that makes me very excited. So when we add the why you're grateful, you're going to start generating more of the feeling. You're going to start generating more of this sense of excitement around it, which is going to charge it and magnify it and bring it back to you in miraculous ways.
Another aspect that I particularly enjoyed was that this is not just a kind of a feel-good new agey book, but you take it really down to the practical. It's like being a business coach. You actually talk about building your business. Do you
Yes.
have quite an aspect of your practice that deals with business coaching?
Yes. So there's two things. There's asking for support and, of course, building a network. So that kind of goes together. I know for me, it was very challenging to ask for support, especially those who are very sensitive and very empathic. They have a tendency to want to hide and not really want to ask for support and help because they think other people either will think they want something more than that from them or vice versa. So there's this tendency to be and stay to ourselves. So asking for what you really desire, not only from the universe and not only from yourself, but from those that you really love and that you know are wanting to support you. And the little extra piece around that is just if it's uncomfortable for you, remember that by you asking for support from someone that you've supported often and you're always there for, it's an honor for them to support you and give them that honor. So if it's uncomfortable for you and someone says, hey, I want to take you to lunch, or hey, I want to support you, or hey, whatever it is, they're giving you a compliment or they're trying to show up for you in some way, say, I'm going to honor you and I am going to say yes. So that's one aspect of that. Then building your network. For example, I do masterminds with a few friends of mine once a week. We vision, we set the intention, we hold each other accountable. These things are going to create powerful building blocks to becoming more prosperous in all areas of your life.
Yes, that mastermind group was one of the practices that you mentioned that I found very interesting. I'm really inclined to try it out myself, as well as many of your other practices. The generosity principle, the principle of flow is very interesting. You have this leaving little envelopes around. Tell us about that.
Okay, so one thing that I know for sure is that when we are operating from lack, we are not in flow. And a lot of times when we think of prosperity, abundance, or finances, a lot of the first thoughts are, oh my goodness, I don't know if I have enough, this and that. And that is just the mind's way of protecting itself. It's not who you are. It's just the pattern the mind goes into, identifies with as a result of self-protection. So when you can acknowledge that, then you can know that, okay, who am I? Who am I at my core? I am an infinite, eternal being. All of us here today know on some level that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, not the other way around. So when we know that, we step into that knowing that we are generous, we are infinite, and there's nothing that we're missing or losing when we give, when we are of service. And one thing that I do when I find myself in lack, I'll do those envelopes that you mentioned. I'll just put them randomly in libraries. I'll put them on car windshield wipers, and I'll put $20 bills in them or little positive messages saying, you are blessed, many blessings, the universe loves you, or something like that, that really helps someone feel better. And I'll do that and watch how that will start to shift your experience around lack and move you into more prosperity. That's one of my favorites too.
We human beings are such complicated creatures because on the one hand, we feel this sense of lack. On the other hand, we often do not feel worthy of receiving. Mm-hmm. So how do we kind of reverse these polarities?
Okay. So going back, so I would like to go right to the worthiness thing. If you are allowing your mind to believe that you are not worthy, you are dishonoring the universe. Think about that. If you are not allowing yourself to see that you are worthy, deserving, that you are loving, that you are loved and lovable, then you're basically saying the universe is not lovable, loving, and good enough and worthy, because you are the universe. It's within every cell of your being. And the mind, and this is not an ego thing, the mind sometimes has an uncomfortable thing with that, because it's like, oh my gosh, well, I'm too open, I'm too vulnerable, and it's not used to it. So give it the right to exist in that way if it wants to be protecting itself. But know on some level, by you choosing to know that you are worthy, you are honoring the universe, you are honoring spirit.
Oh, Emmanuel, we're kind of coming up to the end of the show. I have to have you back. You're just such a lovely guest. So, tell us about your 28-day prosperity plan and the book,
Yes.
and your website, and close us out.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for this opportunity. You are amazing. I can just connect with your energy, and I can feel how special you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I would love to come back anytime. So the 28-day program is a step-by-step, literally, I've planned it out for you. I've mapped it out for you step by step, 28 days, a calendar that is going to, if you follow it, change your life and create greater wealth and prosperity in all areas of your life, especially your finances. You're going to feel more fulfilled. You're going to feel more content. And literally it starts day 1 into day 28. And I would say after the 28 days, if you love the transformation you experience, keep going with it. Keep experiencing it and integrating it into your reality. And of course, share that with your friends and family so that they can too.
Perfect. So we have a reminder of your website. I didn't even get to talk to you about your social media. What is your what is your best?
Yes. So people can check me out on Facebook /Emmanuel Dagher 1. Every post is I create it. I don't have anyone else doing it for me. It's me. I spend time, I see it as an extension of me, and it's really important for me. It's one of my spiritual practices. And the other thing is easybreezyprosperity.com. That's where you can check out the book. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Author of Easy Breezy Prosperity. Get the book. You'll be glad you did. We're going to go to break now, and then we will be right back with our final guest of the day.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Join Elliot Jolish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jolish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jolish Hour.
The name is Bond. James Bond.
No, the name is Joe. The Joe Show. And we are returning back for our 9th season here on OMTimes Radio. So tune in every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, on OMTimes.com/mobile. You can take us wherever you go. Yeah!
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Okay, well, we are speaking now with my new guest, Robert Moss. Robert is the author of Sidewalk Oracles and numerous other books about dreaming, shamanism, and imagination. He's a novelist, poet, and independent scholar, and the creator of Active Dreaming, his own synthesis of dream work and shamanism. Robert leads creative and shamanic adventures all over the world, and wouldn't you like to join them? You can visit him online at mossdreams.com. And today we're going to talk about his book, Sidewalk Oracles, playing with signs, symbols, and synchronicity in everyday life. Welcome, Robert.
Good to be with you, Miriam, and thanks for that vibrant introduction. I must say, if I may, that we had some problems getting hooked up on the phone just now, and it reminds me of a theme that is very familiar to many, many people who remember their dreams. The theme is having trouble getting through to someone on the phone, right? Lots of us dream that. I dream it sometimes a few times a week. It's easy enough to read symbolically, but we always want to be alert to the possibility that a dream like that is a literal advisory. I don't recall exactly dreaming the little hookup issue we had today, but I'm certain that I did. So this leads to one of my mantras about life, Miriam, and it's this, and it makes the bridge to the new book too. We need to take dreams more literally, and we need to take the events of waking life more symbolically.
Well, that's fascinating, and I'm really wondering what the universe is trying to tell us about these connectivity issues, because they have been absolutely bedeviling us on this show over the last few shows, yes.
Well, see, this is a game, isn't it? I mean, everything is a learning opportunity in the school of life. You know that well, I think. So if I'm having trouble getting through to the right number, I'm going to ask, how many situations of life might that apply to? If it's my life, and it is because we shared this situation, I'm thinking, did I give the right number? Did I get clarity about who I am and where I am to be found? Do I need to make sure that I have better connectivity, better lines of communication and engagement with other people? And the answer to those questions is always a sort of yes, isn't it? Because however hard we try and however well we do, we could always do better in communicating about ourselves and other things to other people. So there's a symbolic message in the situation, as I find there often is in everyday situations.
Right. Well, what I find so fascinating about your book in general is the element of magic that it brings in. Is the universe really the magical place that you would have us believe it is?
Well, it is if you're open for it, but I must put it this way, Miriam. If you don't have magic inside you, you probably won't find magic around you. So it has a lot to do with attitude. I mean, my book and my approach has a great deal to do with attitude. I look at it this way. Your attitude is going ahead of you in life. It's what you meet around the next corner. Your attitude's gone ahead of you, and it's already shaping the events and encounters and circumstances you'll run into, if you like. This is the famous or infamous law of attraction, and it's a real law. So if you are going around with a certain set of attitudes that confine you to a rather dreary, dull attitude towards reality, then probably the universe is going to support you and mirror that attitude back to you, and the world might seem to be lacking in charm, romance, and magic. But if you're simply open, and being open is where we begin, being open to new things turning up, being open to the idea, for example, as you walk down any street or drive or take the train on any commute, that interesting things might turn up. There might be a story in that stranger who takes the seat next to you on the subway or the train or the plane. The first thing that pops up on a gritty urban street or on the drive home might be the world speaking to you in a language of signs and symbols, the call of that bird, that snatch of overheard conversation, the vanity plate on that car could all hold messages to you. And one of the games I teach people to play is to link things that pop up in your field of perception like that to themes you are carrying. You may or may not have posed a question to the world, but the world might be giving you a kind of message relevant to you anyway. So, yes, magic is there. It's waiting for us. It is an enchanted universe. But to find it, we have to be open to the enchantment.
I find it interesting that your use of the term games, because you, in fact, throughout the book, there are many games that you suggest we play. We tend to take ourselves so seriously as we're trying to do our best in the world, and figure out how it all works. And what I really commend to the listener and commend you for is trying to lighten it all up and bring some fun into life.
You know, when I was writing my first book on all of this, it was called Conscious Dreaming. It came out. This will be the 20th year since its publication. I've done a dozen since then. I keep turning them out. I was writing my first book about dreaming, imagination, and everyday magic, and I asked for a dream of guidance. This is something anyone can do anytime. You ask the night for a dream, or you ask the world for synchronicity. I asked for guidance on how to help more people understand the magic of dreams. And I dreamed that I'm in something like a big three-ring circus, and there's a clownish character in a loud suit like a racetrack tout, who's jumping up and down and turning ridiculous acrobatic tricks. And I'm thinking, is this the guide? I'm becoming lucid in the dream. I think, this my guide, this loud sort of shabby character smoking a big cigar, and he jumps into the bleachers. He's smooching with an attractive lady in the bleachers, and I'm still thinking, is this the guide? Where's my guidance? And the guy leers at me and gives me a terrible wink around the shoulder of the blonde and says around the corner of his cigar, "It's about entertainment, kid. It's about entertainment." Now, I woke up laughing. I mean, what a gift it is to have something that lightens the day and just gets you out of bed with a belly laugh, or gets you down the street laughing and smiling for that matter. I got the message. It's about entertainment. We have so many chores to take care of. We have so many problems that are weighing upon us. There are things wrong with the country, with the world, with our health, with our family. We know all that. So let's find a way to charm our way through the dark days and have some more fun. So yes, this is a book of games. It's a book of games and it's a book of stories, because I find that people can learn from stories and they can carry them with them and retain them much better than any number of abstract concepts. So I teach by stories and I offer games.
Robert, it sounds like we actually are connected to the statement. So we're going to take a break, and then we will be right back with Robert Moss.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of the Inspired Parenting Radio Show, where every week we bring you empowering information from the diverse fields of conscious parenting, education, neuroscience, consciousness, health, and metaphysics to support you in nurturing the best in your children. So if you're interested in understanding what shapes your children's minds, spirits, and hearts, join me every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and prepare to be inspired.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community, bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids.
Playing with signs, symbols, and synchronicity in everyday life. Try to say that 3 times quickly. Robert, what website do people go to find out more about your work?
Well, Moss Dreams, M-O-S-S, Dreams, plural, Moss Dreams, and stuff that grows on trees plus dreams. That's my basic website. Of course, I teach all over the place, as you know. I have a vast calendar of workshops all over, and I teach online courses for the Shift Network. So there are lots of ways of actually getting to an experience with me. And I'm an experiential teacher. I like to facilitate adventures that people can live and learn from themselves, not just talk at them, although I like to talk and I like to write. So as you said, the new book is a book of games. It's an invitation to have an adventure any day of your life, starting with the first moment you step out into the street and carry on from there.
I was impressed, actually, with the writing itself. You write so beautifully. And then I gleaned somewhere in the book that you also do writing workshops. Is that still happening?
I do. Actually, probably my personal favorite amongst all the adventures I lead is an unusual week-long program called Writing as a State of Conscious Streaming. I mean, it's the invitation to the ultimate flow experience. I mean, you can imagine it. If you've known what it's like to be in a lucid dream adventure and enjoying it, then you can imagine probably very easily what it would be like to write in a similar state. If you've been in the zone in any field of life, the zone the way that athletes talk about it, you know what it's like. If you've been lucky enough to know this as a writer or an artist, again, you know. So, and we learn to take our dreams and turn them into stories. We learn with permission to borrow other people's stories and write from them, and we journey together with shamanic drumming into places like a magical library, a dream library, where we can meet a master teacher, an exemplar in our own field, and even read sometimes the books we haven't published in this world yet and bring back a few pages. So it's probably, I don't know that there's any writing retreat on the planet that's quite like this one. So that's my favorite.
Oh, the idea of reading a book you haven't written yet sounds fascinating.
So it's a bit harder for writers to bring the pages back than it is for my artist friends to bring back a picture, although some of them will say if it's a really good picture and it's going to be executed in oils, that takes a bit of time too. But I've seen people bring back really an extraordinary amount of inspiration. I've seen scripts, novels, nonfiction books, memoirs, emerge with surprising rapidity. And we even do things like this. We do a lot of theater and performance in my live workshops. For example, you've got a dream, you've got a story from your life. Let's act it out. Let's have people play roles. Let's have them talk to you, interview your characters if it's a dream. And so if you've got a manuscript you're working on and you need some help, we might play act the next scene or two for you if it's fiction or a script, see how that comes out. I know a novelist who has blocked a chapter 3 in a book. We acted out the next 2 chapters. She got the book written and got it published the following year. So as I say, it's an unusual writing workshop. You're not just sitting around with your head down and then critiquing each other. We're a lot more active than that.
Well, you are very much into playing and games. And so let's get back to your book that we're promoting today, The Sidewalk Oracles. You invented a word called chiromancy. I kept on trying to figure out what that meant. Tell us.
Oh, I made it up. So if you're having difficulty with it, that's for a reason. Well, I was looking for a new word for synchronicity. Mr. Jung, who is a classical scholar as well as all else, gave us the word synchronicity. It's basically trying to give us a label for meaningful coincidence that sounds important and scientific and respectable, and it does. People sort of nod their heads when you say synchronicity, but look a bit befuddled when you say coincidence. But I'm not really satisfied with it. Synchronicity etymologically just means things happening at the same time, and that's not necessarily all that's going on. You can have a run of events connected in the way of meaningful coincidence over a period of time. Things come up again and again and again, as Jung himself noted. So anyway, I was looking for a synonym, a new word, to define this phenomenon, and I gave up. I really couldn't come up with a new one. There's some old ones that are interesting. But I realized that actually what we needed more than another word for synchronicity, the encounter, which is when the universe gets personal. We all know it in our feelings. Something is inside you and suddenly it's mirrored at you by the world. You're thinking about a certain theme and then there it is in front of you on the side of that truck, in the behavior of that dog, in that unexpected phone call. We know it. I realized that what we need is a word for the practice of living by observing synchronicity, of taking advantage of signs and symbols that pop up around you. And I thought, well, one of the things that goes on in the experience of synchronicity is you sometimes have a sense that time has changed. Time is working differently. Sometimes as if time has stopped. Sometimes it feels as if time is getting more expansive. You're in a different space. Sometimes it actually feels as if something, some power that lives outside time is reaching through into the ordinary world and connecting with you in some way. Well, we see that in the old saying that coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. You feel that something from outside time is reaching through, tickling you, pushing you back. So I thought, well, what is a word that would convey something about that quality, that time is different, that this is a special moment, and it's a moment to be acted on. And I remember that the Greeks have more than one personification of time. They had old Kronos. We know his name. It's in chronometer, chronology, and so on. Kronos is the god of tick-tock linear time, the time that stops everything from happening all at once, the time that keeps things orderly but in a sometimes boring linear way. But the Greeks had another god of time. His name was Kairos, Kairos. And he's shown as a beautiful young man who is absolutely hairless except for a single lock of hair over his forehead, from which we get the phrase, catch time by the forelock. When you see him, you've got to act. If you don't grab him right away, he's gone. So Kairos is the personification of opportunity time, jump time, the special moment. He is the personification of the special moment when you know in your shivers that things are working differently. It's a time of opportunity. So I put it together with the mancy bit, which is about divination. And I came up with the word chiromancy, which means divination by special moments, by being present to special moments. But more exciting to me than that word is the word we get from it, which is chiromancer, which sounds romantic and mysterious. So I'm inviting people to become chiromancers. Come to me and you'll become a chiromancer. The chiromancer is someone who is forever poised to notice these special moments when things are operating differently and to take action, to honor, to celebrate, to do something with and from that special moment. And I'm now teaching a cycle of workshops called Become a Chiromancer. I'm doing one in Berkeley in March. They're quite popular.
So taking action is the key, because recognizing it doesn't really help you much unless you act on it.
Well, it can be enough to have, a nice shiverish, exciting feeling in the midst of the day, the feeling that you're not alone in the universe. I mean, that sense of magic, that might be enough. But I'm greatly in favor of taking action from these special opportunities. I'm greatly in favor of taking action from dreams. Real magic, a path of real magic, which this is one I suggest of bringing magic from one world into another world. In our dreams, we seem to travel to other worlds sometimes, and when we learn to do something interesting with our dreams, we can sometimes bring energy, guidance, and healing from that other world, the dream world, into waking life. Through synchronicity, when we wake up to the fact that powers of the deeper world are coming through to us, to take action from that is doubly to practice the art of magic. You're recognizing there's something from outside your ordinary reality which is now at play in your world, and now you're doing something with it. And that the opportunities that are given to you by that can be extraordinary. I've been given incredible specific guidance in the play of synchronicity, and when I've acted upon it, things have turned out in a way that would be absolutely unimaginable without that special moment and then the willingness to go with it.
Another K word that you introduced to me, and I really pride myself on my vocabulary, so it was quite annoying to find words I didn't know, is the word kleidon from
yes.
the Greek.
That's Greek too. And I mean, you can spell it with a C. K is the correct old Greek way of writing things that we don't have to stick to. If you want a C, you put a C on. But the kleidon is one of the favorite Greek forms of oracles, and the Greeks liked oracles, and they went to the Delphic oracle. We know about that. They went to the great oak tree of Zeus. They went to other favorite oracles, but an everyday oracle that they liked to pay attention to is the kleidon. What does this word mean? Well, a kleidon is sounds or speech coming out of silence, or maybe out of the undifferentiated hubbub of a large crowd or a city situation. Suddenly you hear a phrase, perhaps. Let's take an easy example. You hear a snatch of conversation, and it's saying something to you. I mean, it might be terribly routine. The other day when the mild winter in the Northeast where I live suddenly turned to a typical frigid, freeze your what's-it-off kind of northern winter, that morning going out without having quite realized the temperature dropped to 5 degrees, the first thing I hear from a neighbor is, "Keep warm, Robert." I mean, that's a kleidon. It's a pretty obvious in-your-face one. It's a well-intentioned phrase from a neighbor rather than somebody strange. May I tell you a short story about a more interesting kleidon, a more unexpected one, and what I was able to do with it? Do we have time for that?
You know what? We're going to come to the end of this segment, right, but then we're going to go on afterwards to recapture the lost time from the beginning. So let's save it for that. Because the other thing that I really wanted to bring up was that the book elves.
Yes. Oh, I love this, and probably anybody who knows books, and probably all of your literate, civilized, ever so discerning audience like books. We've all noticed that a book pops up, a book falls off the shelf, a book is on top of the new arrivals in the library or the bookstore, a book is hidden. Sometimes you feel that this is pretty personal stuff. It's as if something is pushing that material into your attention or sometimes hiding it from you. I think this is the play of the shelf elves, and I think every bookish person knows this. Sometimes it feels really big time, and then I might call it the play of the library angel. I borrowed the library angel from Arthur Koestler, who was really very good at many things, including writing novels and telling us where society is going, and also writing about coincidence or synchronicity. He talked about the library angel. And many examples of this. For example, when my first book, Conscious Dreaming, came out, a fellow from the Midwest was in the Boulder bookstore in Boulder looking for something else. A book flies off the shelf, hits him in the third eye. He picks it up. It's Conscious Dreaming. It's as if it flew off the shelf or a shelf elf had flung it at him. He reads it, honoring the moment, then invites me to his town to lead a workshop. That's an example of a shelf elf, or maybe actually the spirit of that book, which is one of those sorts of flying books that flies around unless you keep it chained down or put in a birdcage.
Well, you have so many examples in the book, and we're going to go into them shortly. But right now, the live part of our show is coming to a close. So I want to thank Robert Moss, the author of Sidewalk Oracles, for being with us. Robert, do not go away. And his website is, again, what's it? Well, we will, mossstreams.com. Bye, and stick with us. Back with us next week. Love you.